What you are about to witness is a nightmare.
No glimpse, no false metal.
Insufficient data at the moment, Starchild.
Check 1, syphilis. Check 2, syphilis.
Death by hysteria. They're coming to get you, Parker.
Give me a bottle of anything and glazed donut. Go.
Graves, ghouls, and groupies.
Da bears. Doubles. Sausage. Polish sausage. If you couldn't tell, I'm taking us to a place of Chicago.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
That was absolutely stunning. I loved that.
You know, I had to get in the zone a little bit, the Chicago zone, if you will. And what better way than to pay tribute to one of my favorite SNL skits by one of my favorite people of all time, Chris Farley. R.I.P. my sweet prince.
Man, what a tragic loss.
Really it is. And fun fact, that skit, which I think they did a few times, ties into today's episode.
Ooh.
Because it's a whole Bill Swirsky, right? And he's a sportscaster, I should say, from Chicago. And that's kind of the whole... Well, let me back up. Chuck Swirsky is the sportscaster. Bill is... I don't know if Bill is a real person or not, but in the SNL skit, Bill is Chuck's brother. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, the famous dub bears, dub bears, dub bears, dub bulls, dub bulls, dub bulls. Yeah. So funny.
I miss SNL. Kind of SNL.
Exactly.
Sorry. I do.
I feel very strongly that SNL has not been good since the days of like Spade, Farley, Chris Rock, Sandler, Dana Carvey, Mike Myers. Like,
come on.
That was the golden age of SNL. And I don't think anybody is going to argue that. And if you do try, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
So what's your favorite SNL skit?
Oh, brother. Favorite of all time.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's really, really hard. I think it's so funny because you ask me that, and every skit that's popping into my mind is a Chris Farley skit. I think
of
course it is, right?
Of course.
He really was iconic, innovative.
All the things. He was so funny. Like, genuinely, nobody has ever been that funny before that show or since.
I always say, lay off me, I'm starving. Like, come on.
Classic.
Hello?
Classic. And, you know, love to John Belushi, too. But, like, I feel like Chris Farley took inspiration. Obviously, John Belushi was his hero. He took John Belushi and did his own spin in his own way. And so, like, he was, you know, that cast or that decade, I should say, like the 90s, he was like their John Belushi.
For sure.
And just iconic. I love him so much.
Shit, I'm still sitting here thinking, like, my favorite of all time? Fuck.
There's so many.
No, there really are. Wow.
One of my favorite episodes, obviously, so we all know, if you listen to episode 1 or if you know me at all, Skid Row is my favorite band. And shoot, it had to be 91, I would say. Kiefer Sutherland was the host and Skid Row was the musical act. And fun fact, they were the first metal band to ever play SNL. So props to those guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, Sebastian and I think Rachel were in like episodes or like in the skits.
Yeah.
They did like Kitty Metal.
Yeah.
Where Adam Sandler was like Axl Rose. And he's like, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like that. Like, that might be one of my favorites. Oh, God. Or the Zagat's one.
That's good.
With Chris Farley and Adam Sandler. And they're like the old married couple.
It's good.
And she's like, "Aw, Hank. Like, would you look at that?" Like, and he's like, "Give me cancer now, God." and then he ends up like ripping up the Zagat's, and then Chris Farley's he's playing a woman, like a I don't know older woman, and the whole thing is they're trying to find where they want to go to dinner, so they look at the Zagat's food guide, going through. Oh, doesn't that sound nice, Hank? And Adam Sandler's just this grumpy old man, the husband, and he's like, "What day and what is he goes? Day and night she talks, each word more useless than the next or the last." And anyway, so he rips up the Zagat's guide, and then Chris Farley's like sister comes and brings them a present because I think it's like their anniversary or something.
Yeah.
And it's a new Zagat's guide. She's like, "Well, look at that, Hank." And then he just downs a whole bottle of pills.
I love it.
That might be my favorite. I've always wanted to do like a Zagat's like tattoo.
Yes.
Because she goes, "Heavens to Betsy." And so I say that all the time, just from that skit. So I thought it would be funny to do like a traditional style tattoo where it's like the Zagat's guide and then like the little like traditional flowers. And then it has like script that says Heavens to Betsy.
Heavens to Betsy.
I need to propose that to my tattoo artist.
You do. Absolutely you do.
Anyway, back to you. What's your favorite SNL skit?
See, I really love seeing Spade, Sandler, and Farley together. I love
lineup.
It. Do you know what I mean?
Iconic lineup. And I would say Rob Schneider, but we don't like him anymore, so
no,
he's dead to us. And I'm not sorry about it.
Pass.
He sucks.
Pass.
So that was a hard loss, but
pass. And I'm sorry. He was never as funny.
He really wasn't. He was kind of like trying to ride like the tailcoats of the rest of them, and it was very obvious.
So sorry, but he was never as funny. Sue me.
I know.
Sue me.
You know
but what is that skit called?
Which one?
Technically.
Which one?
When it's the three of them and they're all dressed up
The
as...
Gap Girls.
The Gap Girls. That's what it is.
Yeah, it was like an ongoing series that they would do.
Like, come on. That's fucking funny as shit.
It's so funny. What is it? Cindy, I thought you were on a diet. Lay off me. I'm starving. Or Lunch Lady Land is another.
It's the fucking laugh he does after. He's just like,
yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up.
It's so funny.
He's so funny. He was so funny.
Lunch Lady Land is another one. Slappy Joe, slappy Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slappy Joe.
Oh, yeah.
I could just go on and on, clearly.
It's so good. It's so good. I will say, honorable mention for me has always been Will Ferrell. He was great to me on SNL, and shut the fuck up. Nobody's gonna tell me that fucking skit where he pulls out the little tiny phone and he puts it out to his ear and Jimmy Fallon cannot keep his shit together. No one's gonna tell me that's not funny.
Fallon was always breaking.
He always.
Every freaking skit, he was breaking character.
Can you blame him though?
No. I also like Chris Kattan.
Yes.
I'm not as big of a fan of like the late 90s, early 2000s SNL. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But definitely not my favorite. I prefer like the 70s and even like everyone hates on like the mid 80s SNL, but I still think it's funny, like with Martin Short and stuff.
Don't talk to me.
Chevy
Chase, don't talk to me. I fucking love him.
He's an asshole.
I don't care
as a person,
I love
but
him.
He's fun. No, he's like obviously everyone loves
Sue
Christmas
me.
Vacation. It's funny. He's funny. He's funny for sure, but as a person, I'm like, ugh, why do you have to be so yucky? Don't be a dick. But Chris Kattan though. No, I think he's pretty funny. When I was like a teenager on Twitter, I remember DM. This is so cringe. I'm outing myself right here. It wasn't a DM. I think I just tweeted at him, and I was like, "Oh, Chris Kattan, like this is so embarrassing." Chris Kattan, like you're so hot. Like, will you marry me?
Did we get a reply?
He responded, and he said like something like "I'm free Thursday" or something like that, and I was like,
retweet.
No, seriously, I was like,
retweet,
add to favorites. Holy shit, like screenshot, post. Oh my god, you guys, because I was like, holy shit, like, because to me back then that was like such a big deal,
right?
But yeah, now I'm like, cringe. Like, why are we tweeting celebrity? Like, I don't know. Why did I think that was so cool? Like, yeah, like, cool, whatever. But I definitely was quicker to get starstruck back then.
Yeah.
Now last time I was around my crush my old man crush that I've had since I was like 14, I like bullied him to his face because I'm just like, whatever. But like, had you told like 14-year-old me that I would have ever met this person,
right,
I would have been like freaking out, like, oh my God, like that's my crush. He's way older than me, but like that's my crush. And now I'm just like, like, I don't even remember. I think you were there.
Yeah.
You were there.
I
I was like,
I sure was.
yeah. Anyway,
I walked away. Listen, I walked away. Okay. I left her alone with him.
So
it didn't go as planned. It didn't go as planned. Nothing went as planned.
The premise of what happened was he was wearing like a ridiculous shirt. It had like a cat on it, and I don't want to like out myself for anyone who knows who this person is or whatever who could be listening, but he had a ridiculous shirt on with a cat, and I was like, oh my gosh, like your shirt, LOL. And he was like, oh, thanks. Like, I got it from Walmart. I was going to buy batteries, and I never go in Walmart, but I was going to get batteries, and I passed by it, and I saw it, and it was this whole long story. And I was like, next time it would be a lot cooler if you just say, oh, I thrifted it. Because, like, I thought that was funny, because now, everyone is like, oh, like,
I thrifted it.
Thrifting, like, I love going vintage shopping, I love going thrifting and all of that, and it's like the cool thing to do. But instead he just went on this like long tangent about how he went to Walmart, which that was another part of the joke, is like, oh, you had to set foot in a Walmart, like, don't tell anyone you went to Walmart. No shade to anyone who goes to Walmart, but I'm not a Walmart girly. I can't stand a Walmart. But yeah, I just was trying to be funny, and he was just kind of like, oh, like, yeah. I think it offended him a little bit, and I was like, sorry, not sorry. I still think it was funny, and I have no regrets. So,
boom.
And on that note, let's actually get into today's story. I am so excited. I was telling Maddie, I was like, I am so excited for this topic. If you clicked on the title, you already know we're going to be covering the Max Headroom incident, which I have always found to be so fascinating, and I've always just been intrigued by it, but I've never delved deep into the story, the lore, all of it. So I was like, is this necessarily like paranormal? No. Is it UFO? No. It's not any of those things, but it's still a mystery. It's a little bit of a conspiracy theory. And so when I was talking to Maddie about it, I was like, how do you feel about me covering this topic? I really want to do it, but like, I don't know if it falls under like the realm of what we're doing here. And then we were just kind of like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, this is our podcast. We do whatever we want to do.
Why not?
So here we are. And so the more I went into it, though, I was like, there's just so much lore, and there's just, it gets so deep, and it's unsolved. Like, it is a mystery, because 39 years later, this happened in 1987. 39 years later, we still have no idea who did this. We can speculate. A lot of people think they know. A lot of people have come out and said, oh, I think it's this person. And then years later, they came back on Reddit and they were like, oh, like, no, I don't think it was them after all, which we'll get into later. But yeah, there's a lot with the story.
Interesting. I've seen it even recreated on TikTok. Like, it's a thing. People recreate
Was
this.
it the hijacking, or was it actual Max Headroom?
No, the hijacking.
Okay.
Like, people, like, this is a huge...
See, I haven't even seen that.
Thing.
So... Yeah, no,
I didn't realize. I gotta be honest, I didn't realize it was...
I mean, it's iconic. It's definitely...
For sure.
When you think of, like... Because there have been multiple... Through this, I learned... multiple hijackings.
Mm-hmm.
Which it was easier to do. You can't really do it back then. Or you can't really do it now.
Right.
Because everything's encrypted. But back then...
Oh, hell yeah. It was free game, man.
It was... All you had to do was like overpower the frequency and kind of you had to know what you were doing. It took a lot of equipment. It took a lot of knowledge. But if you knew what you were doing,
Baby, it was the Wild Wild West.
It really was. And I mean, people were like hijacking with porn.
Yeah.
I remember reading that. What's that? Is it TBN? I don't know. It was one of those Bible, like the Christian companies, networks, and they overpowered. It was like a Playboy or some kind of thing, and they put like Bible verses on, and they hijacked that. And I was like, bro, let them live. Yeah. So it was definitely like a common thing, but this is definitely like the most famous one, which
I've heard of it. I'm very excited though. I don't know anything about it. I gotta be honest. I know nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm going in smooth brain.
Blind. Yeah. A lot of people haven't. Because, I've been I'm researching, Max Headroom, like that whole incident. And they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And like, these are people like older than me. And I'm like, you don't know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know the first time I heard about it. I just probably somewhere like watching, what is it that VH1 Classic would always air, like top whatever countdowns, and I swear like that's probably where I heard about this. I remember like the back to Skid Row, the Sebastian Bach bottle incident. They had one of those episodes of like most shocking, music stunts of the 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, Axl Rose during his tantrum was on there, and the Skid Row. Yeah, But anyway, all that to say is I think that's probably where I first heard about this, and it's just always been so fascinating.
Sick. Let's do it.
So I guess let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So it's approximately 9:17 on November 22nd in 1989 in Chicago, Illinois. Obviously, the Bears. Sports fans all sorry, I just I made myself laugh with that one. Anyway, sports fans around the city are tuned in to WGN's 9 o'clock recap of the Bears versus Lions game with sportscaster Dan Roan.
A lot of Sheilas in Chicago were being yelled at.
Oh, yeah. In the midst...
They were, man. If they won, they were being yelled at. Mm-hmm. If they lost, they were being yelled at.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of Sheilas in Chicago that were like, oh, God, I remember that fateful night.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry was screaming at me. Fuck. I'm sorry.
Okay. Regain my composure.
So sorry.
So in the midst of the station airing a clip from the most recent game, the screen goes blank. Totally black. And then through some static emerges something nobody could have ever expected. It was an unknown person in a Max Headroom mask. The mouth was open, agape, and it was showing like his freakishly large dark white teeth, and it almost was like a grinning type of stance. And then of course he was wearing his iconic Wayfarer sunglasses. There was no audio to this. Many think that it was like a pre-recorded, I'll get into it later, but a lot of people think it's like a pre-recorded tape and the audio just wasn't working, but a lot of people think that there was supposed to be an audio. It kind of looks like it kind of looks like the mouth is like moving under the mask, or like it's supposed to be like the head's bobbing up and down as though he were going to be saying something, but we just think that the audio wasn't working.
Okay.
But instead there was just like this really loud buzzing sound that was coming through, and it just sounded like static and like the just super duper loud.
Yeah.
Just straight buzz. And that's all it was. And then, like I said, it was just this huge mask of Max Headroom just bobbing up and down, almost looking like he was laughing, and he's kind of like swaying side to side from like all over the screen. And then behind him, there's like a corrugated metal sheet that it seems to be so he definitely didn't do this alone.
Yeah.
And again, I'll get into that, but we think that somebody was like rotating this metal sheet back and forth, and it was to kind of imitate the geometric like patterned backgrounds that the real Max Headroom would have.
Got it.
And a lot of like, if you Google Max Headroom, you'll see like it's the 80s,
right.
Geometric designs in the background. He's very like pop culture-y, sci-fi, like geometric shapes, stripes, all that kind of good stuff. So then, yeah, he's just taking up the camera, just his big old noggin, dressed in a suit, just like Max Headroom typically would be. And he's just kind of swaying side to side. And yeah, at that, WGN TV was hijacked.
Damn.
And nobody knew what was going on. So, who is Max Headroom? Some may ask.
I'm asking.
Well, back in the 1980s, basically before we have like the modern day influencer, we had Max Headroom. He was a fictional TV show character that debuted in April of 1985 on the BBC, and it was played by actor Matt Frewer. And he was described as the first computer-generated TV presenter. So basically what that means, what they were trying to do is, at first, okay, so I was telling Maddie, I fully researched this, and I had my notes taken, and then I just happened to like think like, oh, well, while I'm at work today, like I like to listen to podcasts at work. Let me just see if any other podcast has like covered this now that I have already researched it, and I'm not going to be like, I don't want to copy like verbatim what other podcasts are saying or like get that in my mind.
Right.
And for any of you who may listen to Astonishing Legends, you guys know that they do deep dives. Well, they had a 2-part series that was almost 2 hours per episode on the Max Headroom incident. So I learned a lot more information. And so I'm just kind of taking from my memory of listening to that. But apparently the people who created this, they wanted to do CGI. But when they, came to, I don't know, the CGI experts, and they found the most like modern, up-to-date, sophisticated CGI, they were like, hey, this isn't going to cut it.
Right.
So then they were like, okay, well, the second best option is to get an actor. And then they put like a shit ton of prosthetics, and I'll kind of get into that again in a bit, but they just made him look like this larger than life character, and they used a lot of like effects, like glitching effects and sound effects to kind of make him look like that he was like glitching, that he was computer generated, that he was almost like robotic. So that was kind of what they were going for. They wanted him to be, again, quote unquote, the first computer generated TV presenter.
Right.
So what exactly does that mean? Well, the whole premise of the first TV show, again, it aired on Britain's Channel 4 in 1985.
The fucking Brits.
It was a movie, and it kind of gives us a little bit, it was like a short movie. I want to say it was like 20 minutes. And it gives us the backstory. So in the movie, there's this journalist named Edison Carter, and he was played by the Max Headroom actor, Matt Frewer. And he crashes his motorcycle. He was being chased, I guess. He was fleeing some bad guys, and crashes his motorcycle, and he's laying there. He's unconscious. Somewhere I saw that like he was potentially even supposed to be like in a coma. And he was like, I guess, some great journalist. And so the TV network, they were like, hey, like we can't have this guy. Like, we need to keep our ratings up. We can't have him in a coma. So they took essentially an AI program, and they developed it based off of Edison Carter, the journalist's brain. And at that, he adopted this new creature. He adopted the moniker of TV host Max Headroom. And he basically only existed in the movie like on broadcast signals and in computer systems. So he was just basically what we would modern day call AI. Fun little fact, the name Max Headroom came from, I guess, like right before the motorcycle accident supposedly happened. The last thing that, Edison Carter, the journalist, remembered seeing was a traffic sign reading Max, short for maximum, headroom, 2.3 meters, I assume, because it's England. So Max Headroom, 2.3 meters, talking about like a clearance.
Interesting.
Which I thought was pretty cool, because I was always like, oh, Max Headroom, like where did that name come from? Well, from a traffic sign right before the journalist guy was in a coma. So that's kind of the backstory of like how this character came to be. But his whole shtick was that he was basically an exaggerated character making fun of like the inflated culture of the 1980s, really targeting like capitalism, overconsumption, making fun of like TV host, because he is like a talking head essentially. And so that's what the inspiration came from, was I guess whoever created him in England came over to America and they were like, wow, like everything is so like, I don't even know, like the talking head is the best way to describe it. Like everyone just like loves a talking head. And so that's kind of what, you know, sparked the idea a little bit. So like I said earlier, to give him this like out of this world exaggerated look, he wore a ton of like caricature like prosthetics.
Man.
So
terrifying.
If you haven't seen a photo of him, like look up Max Headroom. He's crazy looking. And that was the entire point. He was gimmicky. He was a caricature. He was making fun of, you know, culture in a sense. He had this like plastic like slicked back yellow hair, just yellow. Ice blue contact lenses. Eventually he starts wearing like the Wayfarers, like in the incident, the mask is wearing sunglasses. He switches over to those because the actor thru, he was like, I can't do the contacts anymore, it hurts my eyeballs. Totally fair. If you've ever, I'm supposed to be wearing contacts and I don't. I'm wearing glasses right now because they're so uncomfy, and I assume these were more along the lines of like sclera lenses, so I can only imagine how uncomfy those are. I've never put those in my eyes before because scary. Anyway, the plastic-like yellow slicked back hair, the ice blue contact lenses, over-exaggerated fiberglass suits. So again, think almost like David Byrne from The Talking Heads, like how he had those over-exaggerated like suits that are just ginormous and like his tiny little head. It wasn't quite like that, but it was definitely like these big suits. They were made of fiberglass. I'm pretty sure his head, like his hair piece, was also made of fiberglass. And with the prosthetics, again, from Astonishing Legends, I heard them say that the actor, Matt Frewer, he was like, it felt like he was in like 4 hours of makeup every time he put it on, which as a special effects artist I've had that kind of prosthetic process. I've gone through it. I've had those pieces on my face. It is suffocating. It is not fun. And he essentially described it as like being on the inside of a tennis ball, which I feel like is a perfectly accurate way to describe all of those prosthetics on your face. It's not fun. And if you're claustrophobic at all, it's like, holy shit. Panic attack inducing almost. So, yeah, just out of this world, larger than life kind of character. Because, you know, at the end of the day, he's not supposed to be human. He's like a futuristic AI creation of tomorrow. So again, he's portraying with like this robotic, computerized type of persona. And they really upped the ante because they used a lot of like blue screens, harsh lighting, like I said, those glitching effects, like distortions of his voice. They were like editing his voice to sound really distorted and to sound crazy and like all that kind of stuff. So even like regular Max Headroom, kind of unsettling to watch. Iconic, but kind of unsettling to watch because, you know, it's just so like kooky crazy. But he had his British TV movie, and I think it was like 2 days later he gets his own TV series on Channel 4 in England still, and it's called The Max Headroom Show. And basically here he would introduce like new music videos, he would conduct interviews and just kind of discuss like relevant pop culture topics. Again, as a talking head, that was kind of almost, I think he was like just his own like pop culture icon too. Like they were just like making him again like a celebrity, an influencer. So that was the whole thing. But then he eventually got his own drama series in America just called Max Headroom. But unfortunately, and this I think is kind of funny, it was canceled because Miami Vice just outdid them in the ratings. And so they couldn't compete. So Max Headroom got canceled, unfortunately. But fear not, we couldn't get rid of him. He was everywhere in the 80s, and he eventually became the spokesperson for the marketing flop that was known as the New Coke. So, like, when Coca-Cola, like, changed their formula, tried to rebrand there for a little bit, and Max Headroom was the spokesperson for that. Which I should say was a little bit hypocritical, because his whole thing was kind of making fun of capitalism, and then he becomes, you know, spokesperson for one of the biggest corporations ever. But just had to point that out. But again, it was kind of a good marketing campaign for Coca-Cola, because he was everywhere. He was a very recognizable figure, and his image had a lot of persuasion. So much so that Mac Tonight, the crescent moon character from McDonald's, was actually modeled after Max Headroom. Same kind of style. I've always loved Mac Tonight as well. I don't know. I've been drawn to that kind of like aesthetic. I don't know. It's kind of retro. It's fun. It's weird. It's crazy. It's a little creepy, but I just thought that was cool that he was also kind of based off of Max Headroom. So with that, we're going to go right back to where we started in 1987 Chicago. Right after the first TV hijacking, everybody was confused. Nobody really understood what happened. And again, we were in the middle of a recap. Like, they were showing highlights from the game, and all of a sudden it cut to this. So then it cuts back. The screen goes black again. It cuts back to sportscaster Dan Roan. And it was about a 25 to like 35 second interruption. So pretty long, considering like we're on TV time. Like 30 seconds is a long time for it to especially be a hijacking, you know? So camera cuts back to Dan Roan, and he reappears on the screen, and he's like, well, if you're wondering what happens, and he kind of like chuckles, he goes, so am I. And then he goes to like blame it on, oh, these crazy computers. Like, he kind of just laughed it off that way. But man, the TV station, they were confused. They were like, what the fuck is going on? Who's doing this? They thought it was like somebody that was on site, insider job. And they were like running around looking for whoever did it. Obviously never found anyone. But then this led to locals who witnessed the entire thing. They were calling the station by the hundreds, and they were like, what the hell was that? Like, what happened? But nobody really had an answer. Nobody could say. So then they kind of just go on about their reporting, and 2 hours later, it happens again. But this time it was to Chicago's WTTW public TV station, and it happened in the middle of a Doctor Who episode. So the show's playing, and it cuts out, and the screen goes black. There's some transitional static. And then again, we see the large masked face of Mr. Max Headroom. But this time there is audio. And so his face is there, bobbing up and down, going across, swaying across the screen. That corrugated metal is still in the background, being like all trippy, and they're swaying that from side to side. And again, there's audio, and the voice is distorted. A lot of people think he was using like an analog effect pedal to kind of create this sound and distort his voice a little bit. And so he starts out saying, that does it. He's a freaking nerd. And then it's kind of followed by this Alvin and the Chipmunks style, like, sped up laughter. It is suspected that he was in the middle of saying something else, and it kind of just cut in at this point. So we don't know exactly who, like, the he is referring to, or who he's calling a freaking nerd. But this is where we tie in with the SNL thing a little bit. Chuck Swirsky was another, like I said, he was another sportscaster on the WGN network. So a lot of people speculate that maybe this was targeted towards him. And so this Max Headroom person is referring to Chuck Swirsky when he's saying he's a freaking nerd. Because then he continues on to say, yeah, I think I'm better than Chuck Swirsky. Freaking liberal. And then he kind of just moans, and he's making all these groaning noises, and he's like, oh, Jesus. And then it's followed by some weird laughter again, just kind of like moaning. Like, if you haven't watched us, first of all, we'll put some in the show notes. We'll put links to some YouTube videos because, again, there are two different incidents, but you really need to watch this first to kind of like get this in your head of just how crazy it sounds, because I'm not doing it justice. I know that for a fact. But just like the weird laughter and the moans that's kind of like breaking up all of this, what could be perceived as like nonsense, like ad-libbed chatter. But once you break it down some more, a lot of this has like hidden meaning, and, you know, people have been speculating for years what all of this could mean and who it was targeted to and why this was done, and still we don't fully know. But the next thing he does is he holds up a Pepsi can and he goes, "Catch the wave," almost as if it were like a question. And then he throws the Pepsi can off screen and kind of like bobs his head up closer to the camera. This was interesting because, again, Max Headroom was the spokesperson for the new Coke. And at the time, "catch the wave" was a catchphrase that Coke was using in their advertisements. It was like the latest slogan. So the fact that he was holding a Pepsi can, which we all know Coke and Pepsi are like the top two competitors. I am a Coca-Cola girly. My father worked for Coke, so Pepsi was not allowed in my house. I think Pepsi's disgusting. I just had to make my stance clear there. But anyway, he keeps making these weird, like, groaning type sounds. Still, like, he's not holding still at all through any of this. He's, like, swaying back and forth, again, bobbing his head up and down, laughing. And then he kind of starts singing "Your Love is Fading." I'm not going to sing it on here, but people have broken this down to mean two different things. He's singing it. It's part of a song. There's a Temptation song that kind of has a line where it's like, "Your love is fading." Again, I'm not going to sing it. Nobody wants that. But then, I forget the guy's name, but Astonishing Legends was bringing this up, that there was a local Chicago-based musician, and he had a song that also kind of went like, "Your love is fading." And again, a lot of this ties back to Chicago. I mean, it happened in Chicago. The targets towards like Chuck Swirsky, you know, this guy, "Your Love is Fading," I wish I remembered his name, but the musician from Chicago, like, clearly whoever did this was from Chicago. It seemed like a born and raised type of deal, because the other thing that makes us think this is he starts humming the intro to a song called "Clutch Cargo," which, not to get too deep into how things ran back then, but, you know, TV shows, first of all, it was a TV show that was like from the late 50s, early 60s, I believe. And it was like an animated TV show, but the mouths on these characters were that of like real people, because basically it saved them money. It cost too much to animate the mouth movements and like sync it with the dialogue. So they were just using like actual actors, their mouths, and then everything else was animated. So again, that was kind of creepy. A lot of people said that like was unsettling to them. But it ties back with Chicago because, you know, Clutch Cargo, even though it was popular enough, it was not going to be airing throughout the entire country. But in Chicago, that was a TV show that, you know, would air for kids back in the day. And that was just like one of the options. And Chicago, again, was one of the cities it was airing in. So that's another reason why people think that it's another tie back to Chicago, and whoever did this he just kept referencing things that have ties into Chicago, and as though he like grew up there, so to speak. So the whole time, like I said, he's just moving around the screen, that metal sheet's moving, and it's just super duper trippy, the entire thing. And at this point, we're about a minute in. The second incident, I will go ahead and say, was about 90 seconds long. So it was quite a bit longer. They allegedly, all of like what would they be called? The engineers, I guess. The people who like worked on the show, they had all gone home that day. So they were just kind of like airing Doctor Who as normal, not thinking anything of it. And so nobody was there to kind of like intercept this, is what I read. So that's why the first one got cut short. This one, they allowed the whole thing to play. And it wasn't live, and I can get more into that in a bit. But we don't think it was live because there were like cuts and edits made, and it would have been really, really hard to be like doing this live because you had to be within a certain proximity of like the tower. So a lot of people just think that it just kept rolling and no one was there to stop it, essentially. So then he points behind him and he goes, "We think," he says, "I still see the X." And that could potentially reference back to the last episode of Clutch Cargo, where it wasn't a line exactly from the movie, but they were referring to the X. So a lot of people are thinking that's what it could be. Others say he's saying, "I stole CBS," which is interesting because WGN was a CBS station. A lot of people think that this whole thing was targeted towards WGN. And what happened is, again, not to get too into like the details and like nerd out, because even I don't fully understand all of this, even after all my research. But WGN, like I said, they intercepted it. They were able to like change the frequency, and basically these hijackers couldn't overpower that frequency. So then they had to go to their second option, which was they were WGN and WTTW, the two different stations that were affected. They both like shared the same tower. So essentially all they had to do was like redirect the frequency, and they were able to do it on WTTW without getting intercepted. So all that to say is, if he was saying, "I stole CBS," that's another hint towards, oh, this was a direct attack on WGN, and none of this was really meant for WTTW. That's just a theory. A lot of people think that he did say, "I still see the X," again, referring to Clutch Cargo. And then he starts moaning, and he goes, "Oh, my piles," which I didn't know this. I didn't understand this, but apparently piles could have been referencing hemorrhoids.
Yummy. Right?
And another thing that kind of makes us think he could have been referencing that, because he's kind of moaning as though he was like on the toilet. Exactly. And then he goes, "Oh, I just made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds." Which, I don't know, a giant masterpiece, a giant pile of shit, perhaps?
I'm going to start saying that about mine.
Right? Calling them giant masterpieces. And then if he's referring to like piles in the term of like, in the sense of hemorrhoids, it kind of all makes sense. Taking a bowel movement, or pretending to, at least. He's not actually.
But wasn't it just showing like up here though? He could have been.
He could have been
in full view at this point?
Not yet, but we're getting there.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, he could have been taking an actual,
just dumpy.
BM.
Just a dumpy.
A dump. He could have been taking a dump. We don't know for sure, because Maddie's right. Like, you're right.
He could have been taking a hot, steamy dump.
It was neck up at this point. And
the little flies.
What happens next may go along with your theory. So you could be onto something. Again, I do feel the need to point out another thing that makes us think this was an attack on just WGN, and that's what it was meant for, was WGN actually stands for World's Greatest Newspaper. So when he's saying, "Oh, I just made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds," it's kind of hinting towards WGN again.
Right. And
of course, all this is happening through like laughter, moans, weird noises. Yeah, just it's crazy sounding. Creepy. It's creepy as hell. But then he says, "My brother is wearing the other one," and he's referencing the oversized glove that he's fiddling with. And then he goes, "But it's dirty."
Oh.
And he's doing this as he's taking off the glove, and he throws it kind of behind the camera, and he cries, "Looks like you got footprints on it." Throws it across the room, right? Throws it off camera. And again, as a reminder, the whole time his voice is just like heavily distorted, so it just makes all of this like even crazier. I know I keep saying that, but like you really, until you listen to it, like I said, if you haven't already, you won't get just how eerie and like actually creepy this is. Like, it's funny, yes, but it's unsettling. Like, people were scared. People were nervous. Like, they were like, what is this? It's weird. And you never know what he's going to do next.
No, I've just been quiet because I'm trying to take this all in.
I know.
This is like, let me tell you this. I don't think I've ever seen the original.
Really?
Because none of this is ringing a bell. None of it.
Okay, well, something that didn't ring a bell when they talked about it on Astonishing Legends, and I don't even have it in my notes, so I'm kind of going off the cuff a little bit from memory, which I've honestly been doing a lot here, so if I've been stuttering a little bit and repeating myself, that is why. Kind of going from the old memory bank. And I am a few puffs in, so cut me some slack there, fellas. I've missed this, and especially in all my research, I've rewatched this multiple times now, especially over the past, like, few days. But Astonishing Legends, and even one of the guys on there, he was like, I'd never even noticed this either. But when he's messing with the glove, he's giving the middle finger, but he's giving the middle finger with something that kind of looks like a dildo. Like a wiener.
Oh.
So I myself need to go back and watch it, because I've never caught that. I've never noticed that.
A little sneaky wiener.
Yeah.
I need to go back and watch it, period.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing I don't think I've ever seen the original. Like, to me, none of this, right? Yeah. Like, I feel like it was somebody took the original video and, like, did their own voiceover on it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, I'm going to make you watch the original.
I know, and now I'm like, fuck, I should have went and watched it right before this, but I didn't realize I'd never seen the original.
Yeah. Well, you may have, because here's the thing, too, is the audio, and, like, yes, it is older, from the 80s, but I don't think that has anything to do with this. The audio is so distorted because, like I said, he's using that analog pedal to distort his voice.
Fair.
It's hard to, like, we don't fully know what he's saying. Like, is he saying something about CBS, or is he saying I see the X?
Right.
Like, we don't fully know. Some of these things it's hard to decipher. So you may have been able to see the real thing and you just haven't realized what he's saying because it's hard to understand. It really is. It's hard to understand. You have to watch it with subtitles, which a lot of YouTube videos do have subtitles on there.
True.
But it's just bizarre.
This shit's bonkers.
And
this shit is bonkers, man.
Again, like I said, you could have seen the original and it's like, oh, I never noticed. Or I've seen the original so many times and I never noticed a dildo.
Right.
Giving the middle finger. Like, what? When they were saying that, I was like, what are you talking about? And one of the Astonishing Legends guys, he was like, yeah, what are you talking about? And the other host was like, oh, yeah, like, go rewatch it. Like, you'll see it. So now I'm like, shit, I gotta go rewatch it. So
you gotta go see that sneaky peen.
Yeah, the sneaky peen. So Maddie and I both are gonna rewatch it.
Yes.
Because I know it. I'm looking for something specific, and Maddie just needs a little refresher, I guess.
Clearly. Because what the fuck is happening? I'm trying to take it all in, y'all. I'm sorry.
That's what everyone is saying watching this. What the fuck is happening?
Right?
And it only gets weirder.
No.
It only gets weirder. Because this is, again, what makes us think it's pre-recorded. There's a cutscene, which back then that was not easy to do.
A cutscene?
There's a cutscene. So it goes black, not even for a full second. And when it comes back... This is where I'm like, you could be onto something with your theory of he was taking a dumpy.
Oh, no.
His pants are down. He's standing
he
up.
Took a dump. He took one.
He's standing up. His head is out of frame, but he's holding the mask in frame. But he's bent over, pants down, ass out. And again, the guy's like torso, front half is out of frame. His back end, naked, in frame. He's holding the mask in frame of the camera. So it's like a weird angle. And there's a second person that's dressed up as a lady. And she's holding a fly swatter. She's wearing a mask too, but like her head is like out of frame, so we don't really see details. But she's holding a fly swatter. And she's spanking him with it.
Ooh.
And he's kind of like making his moans, groans, and he goes, they're coming to get me. And he's just going, oh, like making all of these moaning groans.
I'm sorry. One more time. What was he doing?
Oh.
I'm too childish for this topic.
For real. But a fly swatter of all things. It's kind of like they're like looking around and they're like, oh, what can we grab? And like, we don't know how much of this was improvised.
Right.
Again, pre-recorded, but it doesn't really seem like there's a script or a game plan. It kind of just seems like he's, going off the cuff. But he does have some props, like the fly swatter. Clearly, they had the costumes. The Pepsi can seemed very intentional. The glove thing, but I'm like, how much of this was just like ad lib? And so he's just like making all these noises. Oh yeah, here's a fly swatter. Like, fucking spank me with the fly swatter. Let me pull my pants down. Like, we don't know. And another thing that kind of makes us think it's pre-recorded, like I mentioned, the cut in there, that you couldn't have done that unless you had like a really full-blown upscale operation where you could quickly like cut to a different tape or camera or whatever. And that's from my limited understanding of this. But yeah, so he holds up the mask to the camera for just a moment before the screen starts to go back to black. And then finally, after, like I said, about 30 seconds in total-ish, Doctor Who reappears on the screen. Just goes back to the normal programming. And no answer, no reasoning as to why. Some people speculate that maybe it was meant for Doctor Who because he kept referring to like nerds.
Right.
And obviously not to judge, but I think people who watch Doctor Who are into that are
nerds,
self-proclaimed nerds.
Nerds.
So it could have been that. But again, I think most of it points to being a target towards like WGN and whoever he was trying to call out, he was calling them a nerd. Maybe it was Chuck Swirsky himself, but...
This is crazy.
Isn't it?
This is absolutely insane. I cannot imagine. Especially, it's the 80s, right?
Yeah,
and
87.
This man has his bare ass out.
And like back then, that was like crazy.
It was insane, especially on... It's not like, you're seeing a movie and there's nudity. That's one thing. But good Lord, sir. In front of the children?
In front of the children, and you have, like, some kind of wiener that you're giving the middle finger with.
I'm zooming in on that booty. I'm going to see if there's anything on that booty.
Well, I'll get to essentially what the police said.
Is there doo-doo on the booty?
No, there's no doo-doo on the booty. But when it comes to trying to figure out who did this, the police were like, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself here.
Oh, they zoomed in on the booty.
Well,
they said, identify this booty.
That's what they were like, we don't have anything to describe this guy. The only thing we have is like a bare white ass. Or what they said, to quote, was shiny white butt.
If you or a loved one has been affected by this booty, please call 911.
If this booty looks familiar, if you've ever, swatted this booty with a fly swatter on camera in the middle of a hijacking, let us know.
Man? What?
But here's the thing is you can come out because the statute of limitations has been up for a long time.
Right.
So you can come clean and nothing's going to happen to you. I forget how long.
That's true.
I think somewhere I saw it was like 5 years was the statute of limitations. But there was like a hefty fine. Like when they were investigating this, one of the police chiefs or one of the investigators, something like that, he was like, there's a fine of up to $100,000, a year in jail, or both. So they were kind of, so there were a few incidents that happened in like previous years. And I think in 1986 it was, so like the year before this, it was considered a felony to hijack the airwaves like this. Like it was you were going to be a felon. That was a felony charge. So they were going to go after you, if anything, to like make a model out of you.
Right.
But yeah, pretty crazy. They were trying to keep people from doing this because it's like, obviously there's going to be copycats too. Of like, once somebody does this, everyone's going to figure out. And once you knew how to do it, like it wasn't that complicated. Like the technology was not that complicated at the end of the day, but you had to have a lot of like equipment and you did have to know what you were doing. So there is that. But I mean, and you would have to be like self-taught, either reading a book, taking a class, like on the job experience. That's why, and again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but a lot of people think this is somebody that worked for the networks.
Right.
And they fully knew what they were doing. They had an idea of like how long they could go on for before they could be triangulated. Because again, you're working off like towers and, you know, you had frequencies and airwaves, like you had to be within a certain like radius. So you could be fairly quickly triangulated if this goes on for too long. They can kind of figure out what location you're at. They've done gotcha. Now you're a felon.
Right.
So, but
Bonkers.
that gets into who did this, because 39 years later, we still do not have a clue. But like I said, there are a few theories. Because hijacking an airwave was not an easy thing to do. Again, you had to have the right equipment. You had to know what you were doing. Once you knew what you were doing, like I said, the technology is fairly simple, but it took a lot to achieve this and to, you know, make this happen. You would, like I said, would have to be within a certain radius for the airwaves to reach the antennas that were on top of these towers. The WTTW tower antenna was on the Sears Tower, and then I think it was the WGN was on the top of the John Hancock building. But apparently those are close to each other. So, and they were sharing like the same frequency, I guess it was.
Right.
And it was just a matter of which way you pointed like the satellite. That's my understanding. If I'm wrong, don't come for me. This is not my niche forte. I'm not a nerd. I'm a bit of a nerd. That's a lie. I'm a nerd, but not when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, anyhow, so this means that not only would the hijackers have to be within a certain radius or a certain distance of these antennas, but a lot of people say that you would have to be at a proper height. Maybe not necessarily, but a lot of people, they were led to believe that, you know, because of this theory that these hijackers were on like a rooftop or some kind of like high-rise apartment building. That way, because they had a strong signal, and that's the thing, is the signal had to overpower that of the station, if that makes sense. Like, that's how they took it over. That's how they hijacked it, is their frequency was stronger than that of the TV stations.
I'm not having enough fun with my friends.
Right?
I'm
we
not.
need to like hijack
This
a
is
TV
fun.
A TV show. Honestly, though,
This is fun. I'm not doing it right. We're not doing it right.
no, we're doing something wrong.
We are.
Instead, we're just sitting here telling everybody about it
Exactly.
when we could be doing it. I wonder. I'm sure it still is a felony.
Coming
Like,
soon.
I wonder, like, counting for inflation, how is it still a up to $100,000 penalty? I don't know.
Probably
In
not.
today's money, like,
Probably not.
it's, what is that, closer to like $500,000? Probably
A milli.
a mil. Yeah, these days,
Probably a milli
with
or-
this president. A
Yeah,
mil.
a milli.
God damn. But others believe that they could have gotten away with this just in like a mobile unit, like almost like they were in a news van, something like that, because it would be helpful if they were mobile. Again, they could be triangulated, even though, like, we kind of assumed this was pre-recorded and this wasn't being done live. They could still triangulate you because, again, you had to be boots on the ground. You had to have your full gear set up. And, you know, that's heavy. That's a lot of heavy equipment. If they were lugging it to, you know, the top of a rooftop or some kind of apartment building, it was just, a lot of people think that was less likely. And it was more likely that they were in some kind of mobile setup where they could very quickly, after that 90 seconds, which was likely someone who worked there would have known that 90 seconds is a good time frame of, like, we can get our message across, we can make our statement, but it's not quite long enough for them to catch us.
Interesting.
So then they can kind of scram and not get caught, which clearly that worked. So
I'm just curious. Obviously, we don't know, but we assume that it's pre-recorded.
Mhm.
What is... anybody, if anybody knows, what is the technology there
So it was just like tapes.
So you stick it into like a VCR, and then you're holding up a little antenna?
I would assume it was something like that. Like they were pointing the satellite, like they probably could have used like a satellite dish.
Like one of those.
And yeah, they were pointing it towards the antenna they were trying to reach. And like I said, it was targeted towards like WGN.
Right.
And they were able to overpower the frequency. And so they had to switch to a different network on that tower.
Man.
So they went after WTTW.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
This is crazy.
I know. So then one of the lead investigators that were on the case, I should say former lead investigator, because we are not investigating this anymore. Or at least not
we should
by law.
Right?
Now it's just a bunch of like Redditors and us and whoever may be listening, because I want to know.
The sleuths come out at night.
They really do. It's like I want to know, but at the same time I don't, because I kind of like the mystery behind it. And it's like if we find out, is that going to kind of ruin it?
Right.
Like, are we going to be left disappointed? Like, it wasn't as grandiose as we can kind of make it up to be, like, because we don't have the answers?
Right.
But anyway, former lead investigator of the case, Dr. Michael Marcus, which I have to say sounds like a made-up name.
That's the guy who did it.
Honestly, he sounds
Michael
guilty.
Marcus? Michael Marcus did this. What are we doing?
Guilty as hell.
Like,
Dr. Michael Marcus.
It's Michael Marcus.
That's a fake name. That's fake as fuck.
I'm accusing him.
Not to point the finger, but to point the finger.
I'm accusing this man of doing this.
But he essentially confirmed that in order to pull this off effectively, they would have needed a dish antenna, and they would have to, you know, like we were just saying, be in the very right location.
Got it.
He was also saying, and this is a quote, the gear might have cost around $10,000.
Damn.
But it would have been available used, especially on the amateur radio market. So essentially, it didn't necessarily have to be an insider job. And a lot of people have theorized that it was like the work of disgruntled employees that, you know, went on the amateur radio market and they purchased this equipment for maybe a couple grand as opposed to 10,000. And it also very well could have been along the lines of just like a group of friends, kind of like what we want to do, except we don't, because we're not trying to get
doing it.
felony charges. But if we ever do, this is us officially saying
we're
no,
going
we
on
didn't.
the amateur radio market, people.
Hell yeah, we are. But no, we didn't. We didn't go. We did not go on the amateur radio market.
We're not doing it.
For the record. But maybe we are. Anyway, it could have very well been just a prank by a group of friends that had the right knowledge and the right equipment to do so.
Interesting.
But still, there are more theories as to who could be behind the shiny white butt. Many people think that it was this guy named Eric Fournier. Should have looked up that pronunciation. So sorry. But a lot of people say he's the one behind it. He was an LA-based artist and filmmaker, and his early work had a lot of the same, you know, style, sense of humor, the same kind of cut scenes as the Max Headroom incident. He was using over-exaggerated caricature-like masks and just overall had that trippy, like, bizarre vibe. That kind of stuff. Very similar. Again, though, it was the 80s, so that was kind of like a style that was somewhat popular. I assume especially within like indie filmmaking type of shit. Because then you go back to like the Mac Tonight by McDonald's. It was just kind of like a style that was popular. And Max Headroom, again, he had a huge influence. So he very well could have just influenced some of these smaller artists. But all that to say is at the time, he was living in Bloomington, Indiana. And that was about 4 hours, a little less than 4 hours away from Chicago. So a lot of people kind of started pointing the fingers at him, being like, oh, it could have been this guy. He was close enough. Like, he could have just been like a budding artist. He was also in a punk band. So here's another theory that, again, these are just theories that people are coming up with, trying to connect the dots. But he was in a punk band, and a lot of people were saying that, oh, maybe he was trying to promote his band by doing this, which I don't really know how that would connect. But for some reason it's a theory.
I'm just gonna say, if the name of his band was Shiny White Butts,
Shiny white butts.
then case closed. What's the name of his band? We need to know the name of this band.
But it is along the line of like,
It could point to a clue.
hey, a clue.
A clue.
A clue. But I will say one of his former bandmates came out and said that, that's ridiculous. He denied all of the claims. He said he never had any access to any of this type of like broadcasting equipment. And he never even like filmed music videos for them.
I'd say it. If Kenna did it, I'd say that exact same thing.
Especially if you were like up against like felony charges, which I don't know when the bandmate came out and said this, but potentially you could have still been within, that statute of limitations, and you could be looking at that $100,000 fine, that 1 year in jail, or potentially both. And
I would say it no matter what. Year later, 40 years later, nobody'd know.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what? Kenna? No.
It wasn't me.
Are you crazy?
It wasn't me.
She is not an amateur radio broadcaster. She doesn't know anything about that. And there's just antennas all over your house. And I'd just be like, no, it's normal. I
was going to say, you'd be right, though, because surely, like, I don't know anything about that, but we're just podcast hosts of a baby podcast right now.
A baby.
We're just baby
it's
podcast.
It's a baby podcast.
We're trying, man. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, we will never get an answer from Eric himself because he passed away in 2010 at just 42 years old. So
R.I.P.
I know. He sounded so cool. Like, I did see clips of like his early work, and it was actually pretty cool. Again, it was along the same lines of like the Max Headroom type shit, and it was just really cool. And I love like little indie artists like that, and just like, so niche, so fun.
R.I.P. Eric.
R.I.P. The next leading theory points to a pair of brothers that were from Chicago. And I think this originated from a Reddit post, is what I was reading. I was reading an article that referenced the Reddit post, let me be clear. But they were referring to these two brothers as J and K, which could be short for just kidding, but you never know.
They did it.
Essentially, one of the brothers was thought to be on the spectrum and had a insanely niche interest in radio broadcasting, and he was very talented in this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then the other brother, who was kind of seen as his caretaker, there were claims that his voice was very similar to that of the Max Headroom incident guy. The Max Headroom pirater, if you will. So that's kind of what led this random person to believe that, maybe it was these two. Apparently they did have access to some broadcasting equipment, and they were heard saying that something big was going to happen and to watch Channel 11.
Oh, come on.
And Channel 11 was the PBS station that WTTW was a part of. So it would have been the second incident.
Come on.
But that same Redditor came back years later, and I think it was 2015, and he was like, no, I think I was wrong.
What?
So it's speculated that maybe he was feeling guilty, maybe somebody like doxed these two brothers, and even though he only referred to them by like their initials, maybe somebody found something out and it was affecting their lives. Who knows? But he came back and he was like, no, like I looked into it more. I think I was wrong. I don't think it was them. Yeah. So.
But something big. Watch Channel 11 tonight.
But what if they didn't say that? And what if that was just kind of like a made up thing by
this
the
Redditor
author?
is just making shit up.
He could be. I mean, that's a lot of what Reddit is.
True.
Unfortunately, I love Reddit. Don't get me wrong. I love Reddit. I will sit there. I will doom scroll on Reddit. I listen to podcasts where they're like reading Reddit stories because you know what? At the end of the day, it's entertaining.
We all love that.
Like, and if you're saying you don't, you're lying. Well, you may not be, but it's entertaining. It's like
I don't believe you.
It's like a car crash. You have to just be on Reddit and like watch it. And when people start fighting on Reddit in the oh my gosh,
best thing ever.
And then, like, you can tell somebody said something super unhinged, and then they deleted it.
Yep.
But then people are, like, quoting it and responding to it, and you're just like, oh, the drama. And it's always something that happened, like, 8 years ago.
Always.
And, like, this person's not even on Reddit anymore. I'm like, you probably got ran off because you made a dumbass comment, but whatever. So this brings us back to the leading theory into, you know, what this was, and that's that it was probably an insider job for whatever reason. Oh, I'm going to butcher this
What
name.
kind of last name is that?
You know what? I'm not even going to do him this disservice, so I'm just going to say there's this guy, Al.
I can't even. What is that?
I can't even. I'm not even going to try.
No.
This guy, Al, he was a WTTW engineer, and he said it had to be a broadcast engineer, a satellite engineer, or a ham radio operator, and probably a combination of at least two of those in order to pull this off. And that was a quote. So, essentially, it's somebody who had to have experience, had to have done this before, definitely knew what they were doing, and, you know, it was a fairly sophisticated setup. They got away with it. They got the job done. Depending on how you look at it, depending on what their goal was, which of course none of us are ever going to really know, likely, unless there's some kind of like deathbed confession where somebody wants to admit that they did this, which I would not be fully opposed. Because I am curious. I do want to know, kind of. Again, I like the mystery of it all, but anyway, that kind of makes us think that this was a disgruntled employee, or maybe a few, because there were probably at least 3 people. You know, you have the Max Headroom guy, you have the woman, and probably somebody that was spinning that metal sheet behind as the background. So at least 3, potentially more, you know? I will say that the WGN TV network suffered a lot of financial difficulties, and that led to many staff layoffs, and that was between 1986 and 1987. So, you know, that's a likely theory. Disgruntled employee got fired, felt like it was for no reason, whatever. They not necessarily attack their former network, but at least, like, play a prank, troll them a little bit. This is definitely, like, the biggest troll of all time, like the OG trolling.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, an ex-employee or employees would have the correct knowledge, and potentially they'd have access to the equipment or a location to pull something like this off. And back to what's a very strong theory is that this was a targeted attack meant for somebody in particular, and potentially Chuck Swirsky, because they kept referring to him as, you know, frickin' nerd, frickin' liberal, that kind of stuff. They actually named him. He's the only person that's named throughout all of this. That could be the motive. But yeah, whoever was behind the Max Headroom face and the lady with the fly swatter and the shiny white butt on that fateful Sunday night, we'll never know. Like I said, maybe one day we'll get our deathbed confession or reminder the statute of limitations is up, so you could get away with this scot-free, as you have for the past 39 years, and you can fess up now and you can tell us, and there's no consequence. But it will remain, for now, one of the weirdest mysteries of the 1980s, and I don't know. I kind of like, though, that it's, like, still a mystery, because that's kind of what made it so notorious, and I'm just torn between, like, wanting to know, wanting to find out who did this, but then, like I said, what if it's just like, oh yeah, like, I was fired and Chuck Swirsky said something about the size of my wiener in the urinal next to me, and I was offended and I wanted to get back at him, so that's why I had a big old chode that I was giving the middle finger with. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've got for you today with the Max Headroom incident. Again, other podcasts have gone into this, like, in a lot of depth. Like I said, Astonishing Legends, they didn't go into a lot of, like, the theories of, like, who exactly did this, but they had a lot of, like, insight on, like, the history of, like, Clutch Cargo, like, that TV show that was referenced, and just how, like, a lot of these like telecommunications work, and it was really, really interesting. And they actually interviewed somebody who was watching Doctor Who when this happened. And he was like, I just thought that it was a part of like the show, and that they were somehow, because again, Max Headroom was iconic in the 80s, so he kind of thought nothing of it. He thought that like it was a part of the show because it kind of goes along the lines of like the nerdiness of Doctor Who, and he kept referencing the nerds. And so he was like, I thought it was just they were going to somehow tie in some futuristic Max Headroom, and it was just a part of the show. But he was like, nobody was saying anything. Like the next day at school, like no one said anything about it. So he was like, I didn't really think anything of it until years later when I found out that this was like a whole ordeal. And the other interesting thing about this too is like, obviously people were recording this like on VHS tapes, set in their DVR type shit. PBS apparently was not live recording. So the only way that they had like access to these tapes, like the only way that we can watch this on YouTube now and like thoroughly investigate this is because people at home were recording this and had the VHS tapes. And that's what the investigators used to try to like put the pieces of the puzzle together, which I thought was interesting because it's like, first of all, PBS, like you're not taping your live recordings, like you're not keeping record of this. So it was kind of up to the public to kind of keep track of this and, you know, help the investigators out. And it's just crazy that like how many times did this happen? Things of this nature, copycats even of this, and we just have no record of it because no one was taping it or no one's come out with those tapes.
Right.
And another theory is that, like, what if there was more to this and we just don't have it because they got cut off? Again, kind of unlikely because it comes to a point where if you let this continue on, like, you are going to give away your location. You are going to triangulate yourself. They are going to be able to trace it back because there's only, you know, you can only be within that specific radius. You can only go so far, but it is interesting. And like, what if the first tape actually had audio that we just couldn't hear? Like, what was he saying in that?
Right.
Good question. So it's like, I would like to know the answer of like who did this, just because I want to know, like, was there more tape? Like, was this, like, did you have a script? Was this planned out? Or was this kind of like, oh, I'm going to fly by the seat of my pants type of deal? So I don't know, but what are your thoughts?
This is fucking crazy. Like, oh my God.
It's wild. But it's like so cool. Like, I literally, like, this is gonna be, again, I've always been interested in this, but now that I've done such a deep dive on it, I think this is like gonna be one of my special interests.
For sure. I think I'm fighting. I'm mentally fighting myself right now because part of me is like, okay, this could have been something serious, right? And they were trying to point things out, but it just doesn't seem that serious to me.
Right.
Like, it seems like if you were a disgruntled employee and you were angry and you were mad, like, you would make it a point. Like, I get it. They said Chuck and everything, but it just doesn't seem that put together. Where,
right.
like, to me, someone in broadcasting would be put together.
Yeah.
In that way, and they would have a very, you know, strict and good script in order to get their point across.
Especially because you don't know how much time you're going to have.
Right. So you would want to get it all out as soon as you could.
Yeah.
This just seems fucking goofy, man.
It's amateur.
It is.
It seems amateur at a glance, and then you think about it and you're like, well, you know, there's so many hidden meanings, though. Or there could be. Like, maybe there's not, but just the way that everything kind of ties back to, like, all the Chicago references, and it seems like somebody who was, like, born and raised Chicago, like, they grew up watching Clutch Cargo, you know, grew up watching Chuck Swirsky, could be something like that, or all of the ties back to, like, WGN.
Right.
Of, like, attacking the network, you know, pretend to, you know, be taking old dumperoo.
Right.
You just never know. So it's just, the whole thing's just weird.
It's very weird. I'm so torn.
I know.
I am. Because it seems just, again, so unorganized. But then again, I don't see how it couldn't be, like Al said, it had to be a broadcast engineer. Like, I have to agree with that. It had to be someone, right? With that kind of knowledge and that kind of background, at least.
Yeah. Another theory is that it could have been like a local, like, college group that was like the AV club or something.
True.
That kind of got together and decided to, like, pull this prank. Like, we really don't know. Like, I'm kind of leaning towards it was probably somebody who was an engineer.
Right.
And who probably was some sort of disgruntled employee, but that's just kind of what I'm leaning towards. I don't know that for a fact at all. So, no one does.
This could be somebody who was in line to take Chuck's job, and then they got laid off.
Yeah.
So then they're like, fuck you, Chuck, and fuck all of you. But again, it just seems so not put together.
For sure.
Whereas if you wanted to get a certain message across, you would have it all put together. Like, it just seems too goofy. But then again, that goes, and that ties into the Max Headroom vibe.
Yeah.
Of just kind of like everywhere and weird and quirky and just kind of off-putting and unsettling. So I don't know. I don't know.
That's kind of why I think like Max Headroom was like the perfect character to showcase that and to get their point across. Like
whatever that
part
point was. Like, I don't know what the point was.
Right. Well, that I don't know.
You know, like you're like somebody came up to me and asked me what the point of this was. I got to be honest, my head is swimming. Like, I don't actually know.
Yeah. I mean, it could be seen as like an attack on, I don't know, like the network, or like pointing out, like what I keep going back to is like the Pepsi can.
Right.
Like, you intentionally brought a Pepsi can knowing that Max Headroom was the spokesperson for Coke at the time.
True.
And had that whole campaign. And like he even did like the Ride the Wave. Like,
that's true. That's true. And
that
maybe,
kind of thing.
You know, that's a fuck you to Max Headroom too.
Because he was kind of, that whole thing was a little hypocritical of him.
Right.
The whole point of Max Headroom was to be anti-capitalist, anti-corporation. And here he is, like I said earlier, partnering with one of the biggest corporations of all time.
Boom.
Could have been something like that. But then, like, why were we, you know, going, yeah, I do think I'm better than Chuck Swirsky.
Right.
Calling him a freaking nerd, freaking liberal, like that kind of stuff. Why Chuck?
Why Chuck? Man, this was crazy.
I know.
This was crazy. Like I said, my brain is swimming.
Well, now we're going to have to watch it.
We are.
You guys listening, if you haven't already, you have to watch it. Again, there's 2 different parts. Most YouTube videos I saw, like, it was either part 1 or like incident 1, I should say, or incident 2. Again, incident 1 is just the loud buzzing noise and the face, and it was only like 30 something seconds long. I think 25 to like 35 seconds. And then the last one was like closer to 90 seconds. And that's like the big one where, you know, we were having multiple things said and done. So
interesting. Very interesting.
But what do you guys think at home? Please. I want to know, like, seriously, leave us comments wherever you are listening, whatever platform, if it's on Instagram, if you're following us on there, if it's on YouTube, like, let us know what you guys think. Do you have any idea? Do you have any speculation? What are you leaning towards? Do you have any other info on it? And did you pick up on any other theories? Like, did you connect any more dots? Like, I want to keep researching this because I'm sure there's even more stuff out there. Like, I really need to go on like the Reddit blogs and like comb through them even more. And is there one person who knows something or knew somebody who knew something? Like,
right.
Somebody has to know something. And, you know, it's been 39 years. Like, I know I could not keep my mouth shut about something like this for 39 years.
I'm sorry. I have to add one more thing.
Yeah.
because I am curious. Because that's a mask.
Yeah.
Like, was that like at Halloween stores?
I don't know.
I wonder that, you know?
That's a good point.
Like, was that at a Halloween store, or did this person make this especially for this?
Well, it's like he also has, like, the suit on, too.
Right, everything. So I'm like, was this like a typical thing? Anybody who grew up in the 80s, the late 80s, early 90s, like, was Max Headroom a costume that you could go buy?
I would assume so, just given how popular he was. But at the same time, I'm like, if it was, you know, this whole get up that wasn't that popular, you would think that, and who knows how much, like, investigators are putting towards this, because it is Chicago.
Right.
It is, you know, within the period still of, like, satanic panic, and there were a lot of serial killers, that kind of stuff. I'm sure crime was higher. Who knows if the mob was still present then? I don't know. I'm not from Chicago. But I'm not trying to, like, be a certain type of way. But Chicago does have, like, it is a little notorious for that kind of stuff. But all of that to say, like, this was probably not at the top of their priority list at the end of the day. They have bigger fish to fry, and no real harm was done to anybody.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things that I don't know if they're going to take the effort to go tracking down purchases of, you know, this costume shop around the corner sold, you know, 5 Max Headroom costumes within the past 6 months, and let's go, like, look into each person. Maybe they did do something like that. I don't quite know, but I mean, you bring up a good point.
Right. Because I gotta say, I mean, I'm looking at a picture right now, right? Yeah. That's a pretty damn good costume if that's a costume.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you'll know this better than me, because I feel like you can look at it and be like, oh, wait, that might actually be like prosthetics that have been done.
It's a mask.
It's a mask, right?
It's a mask. Yeah, those aren't prosthetics.
Interesting. But that's a pretty damn good mask. For just like a Halloween costume.
I do feel like those type of masks were really prevalent back then, and this is what I will say. This is so, like, seemingly random, but I promise it ties in. I used to live with my grandparents for like 4 years, and they had like this VHS tape of like the best of Ray Stevens. That he was like a comedian, and he would do songs or whatever from back in the day, like
Mississippi Squirrel Revival.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Oh, I had to listen to that a lot as a child.
Or it's me again, Margaret.
Yep.
Oh my gosh! Wait, I haven't watched. I grew up obsessed with these, watching them all the time. I thought they were so funny.
Yep.
But there's the one where, and I don't even remember which one this is, but they have on like the Ronald Reagan mask and like the Nancy Reagan mask. And it was that same type of like caricature like style.
Right.
So I do think that, you know, those type of things were more popular back then. And again, Max Headroom was one of the biggest, you couldn't get away from him. He was like one of the biggest like icons of the 80s.
Right.
So it wouldn't be an unpopular thing to be like walking down the aisle of like your local party city and seeing a Max Headroom mask. Now the suit, I wouldn't say it's nothing that you couldn't just go buy. It's nothing special.
Right.
It's not like the actual Max Headroom who had like the big over exaggerated like fiberglass suits. It's just kind of a normal suit.
No, I was going to say this just looks like a brown suit that you can buy at freaking Macy's or something.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
But, like, the mask is unsettling, and, like...
It is.
It's just... It's larger than, like, the actual Max Headroom face.
It is.
By, like, a lot. So it does look more like the Mac Tonight character, where he has... I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that, but he was, like, a McDonald's spokesperson. It was a campaign they were running for a little bit with, like, Rock and Roll McDonald's, and, like... He had I think he was like always on the keyboard and would like sing or whatever. And it was the same type of style, which, fun fact, I learned that the actor that played Mac Tonight is the same guy that played, what is it, Billy the Butcher from Hocus Pocus.
There you go.
Same dude. Forget his name, but shout out to him. I will also admit Hocus Pocus is not. I don't.
I've never seen it.
I don't like it.
I tried, and I stopped watching it.
That's
Crucify me.
I've never been able to sit and watch it all the way through.
No, me neither.
So I'm glad you're on the same page with me on that. And I know I'm like we're gonna get like crucified for that. It's just not my Halloween movie. If you know me, you know like Trick or Treat, like the 1986 one with Gene Simmons and Ozzy, Lost Boys, Night of the Living Dead, that kind of stuff, like the 80s, like that's mine. Hocus Pocus is not it. Like the slasher films, I'll take that. Like Nightmare Before Christmas, I almost said. Oh my god, Nightmare on Elm Street is what I meant. The weird like chopping mall. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Phantasm, all that. Anyway, yeah, Hocus Pocus. Oops, sorry. As a Halloween girly, it's not for me. But anyway, I just thought that was cool that like that actor played Mac tonight. So yeah.
We want y'all to weigh in on this. I mean, again, I'm just staring at a picture and like the teeth.
The teeth are so unsettling and like
that can't be part of the mask though.
I think it is.
What?
Yeah, because the teeth never move. It's almost like Disney.
That just doesn't. I don't.
Where like Minnie Mouse is talking or Donald Duck is talking and his mouth never moves. It's just like this giant head.
Interesting.
And this Max Headroom mask also has like these. It looks like bright red lips,
yeah.
And the lighting is very intense.
Yeah.
Very like bright lighting, which also just makes it creepy. But yeah,
those of you with mask knowledge, please weigh in. Help us.
I mean, I have mask knowledge, but resident special effects artist here.
I'm blaming Tobias Forge.
You know what? At the end of the day,
anyone with a mask on.
We blamed our Lord and Savior, Tobias Forge.
Tobias Forge.
We love him so much.
Come to the front. We know you did this at, what, 7 or 8? Well, you did this.
Little baby Tobias. Oh my gosh.
Ah! All right. Anyway.
All the Ghost fans are going to come for us too. We just have to say we are Ghost fans as well.
We are.
We go to rituals.
We sure do. This was fun, buddy. I'm glad you did this.
Thank you. I had so much fun with this. And like I said, I'm going to continue to like research this and like it's not over for me. I really went on a rabbit hole with this and I will continue because it's just so fascinating. And like I said, this is now going to be one of my special interests. Like,
yeah,
the Max Headroom incident. I want a t-shirt with his crazy face on it, but like not the real Max Headroom. I want like the creepy one.
Her birthday's coming up in October, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'll be 30. That's
whoop whoop,
freaking crazy. So yeah, for my 30th birthday, I want a Max Headroom t-shirt. Just kidding.
We're on it.
But let us know what you guys think.
Please. Send
us an email. We're still collecting. We will always be collecting listener stories. So email us, grayschoolsgroupiespod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, grayschoolsgroupiespod. That's Grays with an E, as in the aliens, not the color. Anything else you want to add, Maddie, before we take off?
Let us know what you think. Come on. Give us your thoughts.
I know we love hearing feedback from you guys. And it can be constructive criticism as well. You will not hurt our feelings. We know we are noobs at this. We are brand new and we're just kind of trying to find our footing. And if you have any constructive criticism, don't be straight up assholes. Nobody has been yet, but
no,
just in case. You don't have to be a straight up asshole, but if you have constructive criticism, we would love to hear it because we're on this journey together and we still don't know what we're doing and we probably never fully will.
Just like we will never know who did the Max Headroom incident.
Who hijacked the second station. And with that, I leave. Goodbye.
We're going to go watch it now. Bye.
Bye. Go watch it.
Edited by Tyler Warren. Theme music by Ace Von Johnson. Artwork and logo by Kayla Satan. Produced, researched, and tomfoolery brought to you by Maddie Laster and Kenna Crash.
His father, his father's father, his father's father's father, his father's 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 father.